welcome to Kingdom Mindset Podcast, episode 1.
Let's go.
Come on.
Let's go.
Finally, the wait is over. Episode is here.
Yes,
Let me
sir.
introduce the Rios boys.
You know it.
Got Edgar Rios over there. Say something to the audience.
What's up, everyone? It's good to see you guys. Glad to be here.
Come on, Mike Rios. You know it.
Rios boys. And then we have Josh Lopez, a.k.a. Dr. Lopez, no school required Lopez.
My man.
Love y'all. Thanks for having me.
And, of course, we have Tony Tread, a.k.a. Tony
My boy.
Traditional.
T-Bone.
With Why Not Films.
The chef.
Come
over
on
there.
now.
Let's go.
Guys, in this episode, we're going to be diving into who we are, our nutritional background, our fitness journey, and what the podcast is about. Rios boys, we'll start with you guys. Where are you guys from?
Yeah. My brother and I, we are graphic designers, illustrators, painters, et cetera, and we run a freelance design studio here in Chicago. So that has definitely been the full expression of all of our creative talent. We work with small businesses, but we're looking to expand, and this project here, Kingdom Mindset Podcast, seems to be the newest expression of that. So we've always been creative, but also wildly adventurous, wildly explorative. And today we want to talk also a little bit of our story and how we've come to this point. This is a culmination of a lot of passion, a lot of long-term goal setting for our lives, wanting to set up a healthy foundation through fitness. So Michael has actually been a person who's really inspired me a lot and he's kind of been an initiator in pursuing those goals. So we piggyback off of each other. You know, that's the strength of brotherhood right there, being able to jump in together.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's what's up.
No, and I'm pretty sure you guys know it. But usually when you say his name, my name usually goes along with it. It's funny, but no, we're always been super close. You grew up in the heart of the city, Logan Square, Humboldt Park area. So extreme sports was kind of like everything to us, literally all across the board. So we skateboard, we snowboard. When we leave the U.S., we surf. So whenever we can, but all of that, fitness has always kind of been a part of our life. However, we never pursued it directly until, as of recent, I would say within the past 3 years, I made a change. Ultimately, it started with me just taking a step back and looking at my life, diagnosing it, and seeing, where I was, what was going on. And wanting to make a change, wanting difference. And it wasn't even for a healthy, I wasn't chasing health initially. It's pretty funny. I think I was just chasing a better mindset.
Yeah, a different way.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I needed difference. I needed something different in my life at the time. Well, she's my wife now, but I had, went through heartbreak with my girlfriend at the time. Praise God. Now we're together. We're about to make 2 years next month, which is
Hallelujah.
this is pretty crazy.
Hey.
Pretty crazy.
Persistence is key, gentlemen.
Yeah, no doubt. But it all started, and I ultimately would say, it all started with a mind shift. I, self-diagnosed. I realized, a lot of things weren't aligning with with what I knew was for my life. What I wanted for my life. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Josh.
Yes. For me, well, I was always moving around from Chicago to the suburbs, and my parents I wasn't raised with both of my parents. So growing up, it was a lot of just a lot of conflict, and especially within myself. I just grew up like an angry kid, and I wished certain things that, the normal kid had, and I didn't have that. So I mostly was raised by my mom. And, man, thank God to her. She was out there praying for me since day one.
Amen.
You know, and if it wasn't for her prayers, I wouldn't be here right now.
So good.
Bro, but yeah, man, it was just my mother and I. And, but honestly, as I was growing up, I was always outside, you know, because my mother, she was always working. And so I was always either, literally, like, when I was growing up, it was like Sandlot. Like, I would have, like, friends knock on my door, like, yo, can he come out? Can he play baseball?
Sure.
Can he play basketball? Can he, you know, and it was like that while I was growing up. So I was always active. I was always riding my bike, playing cops and robbers, and, you know.
The classics.
Right. And,
Before internet.
You ever had a wood chip battle back in the days?
simpler times.
yeah, man, those were the best days, you know what I mean?
Chasing
Like,
hoops
it
down the
wasn't-
street with the stick.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
That was my years, but
I would actually fish. There was like a pond right by my grandma's house. I would fish with a stick and a little.
stick in the yarn.
Yeah, bro. Just stick in the yarn, bro. Boom. And I would actually catch some big old big mouth basses. You know.
Was that Des Plaines River or where?
Yeah, Des Plaines River. Yeah.
Man, yeah.
And
They had
catfishes
3 or
too,
4
bro. Them
eyes.
catfishes were like huge, bro.
Oh, man.
But yeah.
Literally mudfish. Yeah, you're
Man, that's
right.
like nostalgia right now. It's like, oh snap.
wow.
Bring
But-
it back, bro.
Yeah, I know. All right, so anyways, so yeah, man, and then I just drifted, you know. I drifted. I started being rebellious, and but it's crazy because even when I was in the world or like just doing my own thing, I was always like just doing push-ups and sit-ups. Like I just loved working out, and I don't know where that came from. Like it was just in me. Like out of nowhere, I was like, you know what? Let me just start doing push-ups and sit-ups.
Just needed to be moving, right?
Yeah, man, because I had so much energy.
Yeah.
You know, and I had way too much energy. And it's crazy because when I was a lot younger, my mother, the doctor told my mom that they should prescribe me with like medication because I had so much energy. But my mom, she was like, nah. Like,
That's good.
Wow.
Yeah. My
'Cause
mom,
that's an
she
issue.
like put her foot down. No. You know, and then she was like, I'm just gonna take them out a lot more, like her. And so I would go to the parks and stuff like when I was like a little kid, and that's just how all that activeness came in play. But little by little, you know, I started just working out, and I started working out at Teen Challenge. Like it got really serious when I was like 18.
Adults in Teen Challenge.
18,
Adults
you know,
in
because I went to Teen Challenge twice. Shout out to Teen Challenge. Teen Challenge is a great program. It's honestly for people that are struggling, people that are in addiction, people that are in broken homes. Man, I recommend Teen Challenge for sure.
Yep.
You know, it has the highest success rate and over like AAs and over any type of therapist, counseling.
Oh wow, that's good.
Bro, yeah.
So this is interesting. I'm kind of it sounds like you always had a passion for physical health. When do you think was the moment, I guess piggybacking off where you left off, but when do you think was the moment or time in your life when you really started to chase down physical health? And like when did like your physical fitness journey begin? When would you say it began for you?
When I saw results.
That's usually
He saw the tricep come, like it's on.
Like, once I saw results, the chest kicking in, the abs coming out, the biceps going out, like bro, it was a wrap for me. I was like, man, this stuff, I'm gonna start doing it a lot more.
But with that, you saw mood changes. You know,
Yeah,
behavior
I
patterns
did. I was
change.
getting a lot more confident. You know, it brings confidence. It brings a lot of. It's just it motivates you a lot more.
Right.
You know, it makes you
Yeah,
more
it does.
disciplined because now, you know, it disciplines you to keep going to the gym because like starting off, it's rough. You know, it's like, man, like I got. There's other things I can do in my time but then once you start going and you're seeing the results, it's like, nah, like I need to implement this in my time. Like I need to include this because it makes me feel great. I'm releasing stress.
Right.
It's like a lot of it was because of stress. honestly, I was stressed out. I was like filled with a bunch of, like just past stuff that was in my mind, and that really helped me a lot.
Yeah.
To release a lot of things. And then with the confidence and the results and the discipline that I started developing, it just really set me off. And that's when it first started. That's how everything began. And
the motivation built up as soon as you were seeing some results. Yeah, I definitely feel that way. When would you guys say your fitness journey kick-started in your guys' life?
So I think as far as me goes, it's I worked out. I actually trained to be a personal trainer. Back in the day, we had Chicago Health Club was bought out by Bally Total Fitness. I think half of us right out of high school worked for Bally's for a while, and I did a little bit of sales there, did a little bit of training over there. I hardcore dove into it, but I wasn't fully invested in the whole thing. So there's still some partying left in me. So it's like, you're still drinking your tail off, but you're working out, I guess, but you're still, you're kind of counteractive,
Right.
So I think that was part of it back in the day, but I was starting to see results back then. But it wasn't until later on, where I started cleaning my life up, and we can go on about I got a whole testimony behind that, but really cleaning my life up from being just a party kid, to say at least. That's an understatement, because it developed into a whole different monster. But really, what brought me out of anxiety, depression, what brought me out of any addictions I was dealing with, all that was the gym. And really, bottom line, awesome. Where it turned out was like, dude, the more I got in the gym, and a lot of it did start at Teen Challenge. For me, as I went through the program, they had a gym in the basement. And,
bro, that gym was fire. I love that gym.
Yeah, dude. We called it the dungeon.
We called it the dungeon.
There was like dripping water down there. The
oh my gosh,
rusty. They weren't far from these, but
it was fire.
Dude, they were.
It was lit by torches.
But I mean, dude, there was anything. It was just raw.
They had dumbbells, bro, that were like 120.
Right.
Oh man,
yeah. I would hit. I'd call it.
They had 20s from all the way to 120.
And I would run the rack.
Wow.
Yeah. So eventually, we were working out so much that I'd be hitting every single one, and I had them lined up right around the bench. And I would go all the way down and just work myself up all the way up until I was finished. But you have to understand is that something that guys like us that were coming from with addictions and this like just ridiculous victim mentality that we're dealing with is that like it's everyone else's fault, our addiction, or the whole world's everyone else's fault. Yeah. This was part of getting us out of that. It actually started correcting our minds after we started hitting the gym. And the more that we got involved in the gym and started working out, you actually started seeing like your brain start shifting, and combine that with what we were understanding about God in our lives, and how the Lord actually wanted to change us. Yeah. We're like, oh my gosh. And we started using the phrase Jim and Jesus, and that stuck, that was it. And man, so the harder we went, the better we felt. And the better we felt, the more we wanted to open things like scripture, started reading more books, started wanting to talk more about our issues, there was call it that dopamine rush that you're getting from working out, but it corrected more than just you getting stronger. Like mentally, there was something that was actually happening there. Later on, we're going to get in the science of all that too, and stuff that I know Michael's read up on, myself has read up on. Josh has dug in a little bit into it too. All this at a certain level have really gone down that rabbit hole, and man, I'm glad I did. Because it keeps you going. You wake up and dude, you almost like you start craving the gym because you know what you get from it. And I think that really after you start getting going, like Josh was saying, and you start like the momentum behind it, and then you start seeing those results, whether it's fixing your mind or you start seeing in your body. And I've always been a strength guy, man, ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to have
You get
have
addicted
muscles,
to that.
but yeah, you
Hulk
do.
In a
strength.
good way,
There's an
though.
addiction
A good
behind it.
addiction.
But it's the right
Right.
one,
Right.
There's a balance to everything, Too much of
Right.
anything is not a good thing, but
Right.
really in the end, it's about life is balance.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, guys, that's one thing we're going to be talking about too, is the the spiritual, emotional, physical,
Yes.
and mental part. And I call them pillars, and it's, you have that in balance, then things are going to start looking a little more evenly in life, not perfect. Nothing in life is perfect. We can't control everything, but that's kind of something that I started living by. Guys that I talk to, there's a couple guys that I counsel, a couple guys that I mentor, and I have it listed on a dry erase board. I'm like, how'd this look? And it's just a list of mental, spiritual, physical, we go down the list and be like, okay, did you hit all this? And physical wasn't so much.
Yeah, tell us about those pillars, bro.
Yeah. So physical, I think physical, some people would start by disagreeing on this, but I think physical is the baseline for everything. And I think firsthand understanding why. So first thing is that if I get up in the morning, right, I've already disciplined myself to get up, in the morning, or get to the gym whenever, as long as it's consistent, you get to the gym and you get that in. Okay. When you go to the gym and you actually do something, first of all, you don't want to do, because half the time, I don't care who you are, there's a piece of you that's like, oh my gosh, okay, let me get myself off. Once I get to the gym, I'm going to feel okay, right?
Yep.
Half the battle is getting there, right?
Yeah.
If I say, nah, skip it, then by the end of the day, you're feeling like garbage to begin with, or to end with, right? So if I get the physical in, and that is my baseline, I worked out that day, that means my cortisol levels that are raising right when I wake up, which is high cortisol levels, as you guys might know, they actually wake you up in the morning. They drop as we're going to sleep, and they start raising throughout the night. And we'll talk about that again in another episode, but you have high cortisol levels. So my big thing is okay, well, I need to drop these, and mine will go through the roof, okay? So I'm going to hit the gym, I'm going to start working out, and then I'm going to start feeling really, really good about my day. So you start evening out. If cortisol levels are dropped, then your stress levels are down. Anxiety's down, anything that might raise, especially if you do have a stressful job, then it's even that more important. But you start feeling good, then I'm going to want to dive into reading a book. Reading scripture, spending time with the Lord, spending time with my spouse.
Yeah, that's
true.
So
there's relational, all this stuff starts following, because when you feel good, all these other things are going to follow. If I feel like junk, then you better believe I'm not going to pick up that book. You better believe I'm not going to be talking to it about something I'm going through, right? If I don't feel good, then I'm not going to necessarily want to push myself to get emotional, get the emotional side of things out,
Mm-hmm.
You can call it renewal, whatever you want. I just go by pillars, the emotional side of things. Guys tend to stuff things down and not talk about things. I think it's important that we do have those discussions. So as far as the emotional, to segue into that, there's different people I have set up in my life, whether it be my brother-in-law, there's a guy from Moody I know, there's people that you should set up in your life where you can actually get out what's in your head or what's in your heart, that's a thing that we do need. And I'm likely going to be talking about that if I feel better, so that part's obviously important, but even down with that, a lot of people are like, well, no, spiritual's the most important, especially the people in our in our culture, in our little ecosystem that we have at our churches, in the Christian community. You have that too. We're like, no, spiritual's important. It's like, yeah, but dude, how are you gonna get there? You know what I'm saying? Because there's times it's like, dude, it's just like anything in life. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to kind of work for it. You got to stir that up too. So the better you feel, the more you're going to want it. Say, listen, I'm going to dive into scripture. I'm going to talk to the Lord.
Yeah, and I agree with you totally. I don't think it necessarily entirely matters on which part of the day. Yeah, sure, you reading it in the beginning of the day sets kind of like the primer for the rest of the day. I agree. But ultimately the Lord knows your heart, right? So if you're trying to set yourself up so that you can have a better intimate time with him, I think he knows your heart. So it's not like, oh, I woke up, I did all this stuff, and then
doesn't matter.
Consistency. No, okay, for sure.
Yeah. So again, even as far as waking up goes, it's like, okay, so I get up at a certain time, and I'm like, okay, I get up probably about 3:30, 3:45, right?
Okay.
On a consistent basis, it might leak into 4 a.m. That's not because I think it's necessarily better to work out. It turns out that it's almost better for you to work out in the morning, from studies that have shown that.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily why it is because my schedule suits it. So if I'm going to get it in, then it's important enough for me to wake up at that time, right? And then I'm going to bed a little bit earlier, and I've actually switched from being like a night person to a morning person because I found the value in making sure I get to the gym. And how my day plays out in that. So it doesn't matter. Like you're getting in the afternoon, the night, whatever it is. Consistency is key with everything.
Yeah.
So that's the bottom line.
It is, and even if it's honestly starting off, even if it's honestly like 20 minutes, if you do something active, like for instance, say like I don't feel like working out, but I want to do something like push-ups is great. It's super great for you. Even when you do different variations of push-ups. Anything. Anything. Like even if you don't have weights, do your own body weight.
Just do
exercise.
Something.
Yes, go for a run.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
bands, stretching.
Bands are awesome. Honestly, like I wish I could have known bands a lot earlier.
Man, resistance training is really good. Yeah. Sure. Honestly, I could even relate to that because Michael and I, with our upbringing in skateboarding, all of that is high impact action sports. Which over time you need to work on the strength within your joints and mobility training. And I found that resistance band training, low impact cardio training would keep your body in tune for those kinds of sports. Longevity really, I feel like resistance training and low impact training are key practices that will help build up longevity. Right. It's interesting. I feel like, Josiah, when you were talking about your story, you were mentioning how you always had this passion for gaining strength, and you even talked about setting up pillars and putting in people who can feed into like your spiritual well-being as well as physical well-being. I'd like to know, like, when you were starting to really, when you were getting passionate about physical health and this journey, what did you guys feel like was the subject that you had the most to learn in? So, like, for me, I think as I got older, I started to, when I cared more about physical health and the journey, going on that journey, I realized the thing I needed to learn the most about was like dieting, But what are some other things that?
Me too, bro.
Dieting, hot button word. But like, what are some of the? I guess when you were going on this journey, what were the things that you felt like, okay, when you identified this is the area that I need to grow in, the area I need to develop the most? For me, diet,
Yeah, I think dieting for sure. Initially, when I first got on the whole fitness bandwagon and started, trying to change my life, I outruled everything. I just was fasting all the time. I stopped eating meat. I stopped eating rice. a lot of the bad things that I shouldn't have eaten, I stopped eating. But a lot of the good things that I should be fueling my body with, I stopped eating too, because I just considered everything bad. Then I started doing funny things like just only drinking like almond milk and, all the other,
You live and you learn.
Facts. You really do. learning dietary and what supplements your body needs. Vitamins also very important. If you do fast,
nutrition.
you can get a lot of vitamins and nutrition through food, but if you fast for a majority of the day, or if you have a small eating window, it's harder for your body to get everything that it needs. So with that, learning what vitamins to take, how to take them, should you eat before taking them,
what ones not to take.
Yeah, which ones not to take, but also quality forms of each one. Just because the price is right doesn't mean that, it's good. For example, dude, I just got these. So I'm taking this cod liver oil. It's an omega-3.
Yeah.
I started taking it because I wanted to take fish oils and all that stuff. A lot of fish oils, they come in those gel caps.
Yeah.
A lot of those oils, you see the prices like, in the 20s and stuff. By the time that, they make these oils, they're pressing all this stuff. By the time it gets to you off of whatever shipping company, wherever it comes from, a lot of those oils could actually be rancid. And people don't realize this, but you're burping all day and you smell fish and it's like bad.
Or they're combined with seed oils.
Yeah, it's combined with seed oils, and even what the capsule is made out of too, like, ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that dietary ended up being the biggest thing. But it's funny, when you're on a fitness journey, dietary is one of the biggest parts of it.
I mean, it has
aside from the consistency and going to the gym to see results. Yes, going to eating proper, going to the gym, it's hand in hand.
Dude, that's something that. So that segues even into mine, where, to go back to, even Edgar brought up, mine was about strength. So and all of us, we were talking about this earlier, but all of us have different like fitness goals, right?
Yeah.
And most people do. They have all, Josh is, I guess, more towards the bodybuilding, so.
All day long.
Dude, he's a big fan of the aesthetics,
The glamour muscles.
Glamour muscles.
My thing has always been strength, so I just wanted to push and just see how much I can lift, and that was a huge thing for me. So I went from just lifting weights and then started working towards, the powerlifting side of things. And powerlifting, it's like, dude, that is outside of strongmen. Like, that's powerlifting's at where it's at. There was this notion though, like that if, the bigger you are, the stronger you're going to get. So there's also a theory is like, you can't fire a cannon from a canoe, right? So if that's the case and you're going to be a canoe, you better weld that canoe. So that's the thing.
Somehow turn into a boat.
But this is the thing, my numbers were going up. The more calories, the bigger I was, my calories were going up. And when I got to like 330 pounds, and I started crossing my leg, and I'm like, I don't want to tie my shoe. Right? Like, I'm like, okay, like, this is getting a little out of control.
Yeah.
Right? And then my wife looks at me, she's like, she won't like say, hey, you're getting a little portly. Okay, she wouldn't say that. Not knowing my wife, she wouldn't say that. But what she will say is, are you okay? Like, that's what she said.
Are you okay?
Like, and I'm like, while I'm stuffing my face, I'm like, I'm fine. Like, there's no problem at all, right? But when I started feeling uncomfortable, right? So the muscle was building, but it was underneath the padding, right? Yeah. So once that started getting out of control, but I was actually eating 10,000 calories on purpose within a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
10,000
So
calories,
I was waking.
That's crazy.
I was waking up in the middle of the night and eating bags of chicken breast or grabbing cookie dough out of the freezer and trying anything I can. Now listen, I was
grabbing
the
cookie dough.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
He was picking up weight.
The cookie dough, that's
but I was lifting, man.
Big
hey,
boy.
you know what? Some people do that.
Well,
some people do that and they're not lifting.
Well,
shots fired.
Some people eating cookie dough and they're not,
just cause.
Man, I might have been a different shape at that point. I'm already brick with this, but that was a brick with a gut. So that was, but yeah, man. So you just saw the difference, and then finally, I'm just like, man, I gotta shut this down and figure it out, But at that point, you're also working in all this garbage supplements that you're like getting fed to on the internet and saying this works for this, and then along the fitness journey, you're like, it doesn't hurt to try it, and then it's like, I don't think it's doing anything. Okay, so you drop it, you put it down, and you're like, dude, I'm not seeing any results from this at all. I haven't worked any. So it's like most supplements out there, I would say a good 99% of them, in my opinion, are absolute garbage. Okay.
That's
Where
a
it
crazy
comes down to,
statement.
and along my journey personally, I have found, and even dropping all that weight, that everything is in our food that we eat. You are what you eat is a big phrase, it's a big deal. It means a lot, right? So it's like what you're consuming is what you're turning out to be, right? So eventually, when I started switching that, and I'll get into this, and I'm not an advocate for carnivore or animal based, but I will tell you guys what has worked for me. And getting on that, I'm like, dude, that sounds like an awesome diet. Like, all I'm eating is meat and eggs. Like, that's awesome. So listen, for the first 2 months, I did meat and eggs. Like, that was it. Meat, eggs, and butter. I stopped consuming seed oils and all that other stuff, which is a big deal. Highly inflammatory, as you guys know, and some of you guys might not know out there, but they're horrible for you. More and more people are getting turned on to this. It's like, no, the ways of our ancestors, the ways of our grandparents were, dude, even whether it's bacon fat, but more importantly, beef fat, like highly nutritious, but it's called beef tallow, but people started getting away from that. But I started incorporating that and started eating fattier cuts of red meat, and I started dropping weight. And the more fat that I consumed in those sittings where I would diet, I started seeing better results. So it's not just the weight loss, but it was also, I was seeing like my recovery time in the gym be cut in half. So I'm like,
that's good.
Yeah, dude. So I was going from like a full week for a deadlift to like half a week. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not even sore anymore. This is bizarre,
awesome.
you know? So the more I got off of that, so for the first 2 months, I just ended up just emptying myself out and just basically detoxing myself of all those carbs and sugars and seed oils and everything else. Yeah. And it wasn't easy. I mean, bathroom visits were very good. That's for sure.
Oh my god.
You know, and you just have there's a little bit of road there, but then you detox. But dude, I've been doing this thing for now I'm animal based, so I incorporate fruit in my diet and all that. But like that's the only place I get carbs from, and I've been doing this for over 2.5 years. And dude, I feel like I should have felt in my 20s, you know, like I wasn't drinking and working out. Yeah. So it's like now, it's like, man, I just hit 42.
Congratulations, bro.
Yeah,
dude. But I feel like I'm in my 20s, and that's the difference. You know? Maybe my mature level might be in my 20s, but regardless, young and fun. But you have that, and then when you're working with that kind of nutrition, and you're like, this is actually sustaining me. Then you start reading up on all these materials and all these people that have been doing it for a little bit. And we'll go on another episode about all of this, but then you see like corporations were involved and like this rabbit hole of conspiracy, not conspiracy theory, but like conspiracy that started.
There is a dark side to the food industry.
Dude,
bro, like the other day I just heard or I saw that one of my favorite fast food places has seed oil. They cook their food on seed oil. Chipotle.
Dude, Chipotle.
Oh man,
I didn't know that.
I mean,
don't touch it.
It's fresh, right? But then we're gonna fry it. Oil, soybean oil.
Yeah.
Especially since I used to work there. I used to eat that. Like, bro, like
go hard on it too.
I used to go hard on Chipotle, bro.
You know, I think that is something that is a growing like realization amongst people, because traditionally vegetable oil was advertised as something that was heart healthy, right. And it's crazy because it actually it has the opposite effect, right. And now we're starting to see that, right. So returning towards an animal-based diet or incorporating more animal-based proteins and food sources will really give you the better results. I've been able to implement a couple of things to help calibrate and see better results as I've tested different things out in my health journey. A lot of that being like testing around time restricted eating and intermittent fasting. Yeah. But that was part of that. Yeah.
So that was part of the weight loss too. And I'll let you finish. Sorry to cut you off, Edgar, but just that was definitely a huge part of it, and you just give that window of 16, 17 hours, and then you get like an 8-hour window. Some guys just do, I know as far as carnivore and animal based, they do one meal.
One huge meal.
Why are you eating again? You know what I'm saying? Like, why? And we're not made to have that. But anyway, Edgar, I apologize. Go ahead.
No. So, you guys, with Kingdom Mindset, we're identifying our different fitness goals and our stories and what have really worked out for us. Each of us here has been on a unique journey based off of the unique fitness goal that we have, and we've tested things out. I'm curious to hear, I've just mentioned like I've tested things out with regard to intermittent fasting, but it's all a journey and a learning experience. We want to use Kingdom Mindset to share that and unpack what works for us. So guys, along the way of your fitness journey, what has been some of the things that you've kind of tested or implemented on yourselves with regard to diet or strength training and muscle growth?
Oh, you touched on it not too long ago, but I do think the fasting was super huge. So a little backstory on where I came from in my fitness journey. I was I like to party, I like to drink, I like to eat whatever. I didn't think twice about it. If it tastes good, I was probably gonna eat it. And how long it was, if it was cooked several days ago, I didn't even question it. I think the biggest point that I got up to was 225. 225 doesn't necessarily sound that high, but I'm a small guy, a small frame, and it was all fluff. Like, I was the dude that I thought I was too cool for the gym. A little bit different from you, where, you chase power. I thought that, dudes that, like, love the gym were, they're base heads, they're just muscle heads. I just, thought, meatheads, and just conceited. When it's funny, but now that I'm in this fitness world and I go to the gym almost every day, I realize, like, it's actually not like that. A lot of that I thought about them being conceited and all that. In fact, I would probably say I was the one that had all the issues. And what got me down, so I pretty much went from 225, and within 6 months or 6.5 months, I lost the weight kind of maybe even too fast, but I dropped all the way to 150, and the lowest point that I got to was 145.
And that was in, I'm sorry, what span of time?
This was in like 6 to 7 months. Yeah, and this was like, it was crazy.
It's about 80 pounds right there.
No,
more or less,
a lot of it was water weight, I would say. Dude, I was just I felt like I drank a lot, and that was a big part of skateboard culture. You ain't drinking water all day. And you're kind of like out all day in the street. 40s and skateboard. Well, dude, it was, yeah. So beer's a big part of all of that. Eating whatever, Arizona iced teas, super big part of my life. I'm pretty sure a lot of other city kids can.
Yeah, but the one with ginseng, right?
Yeah.
Nah.
The one with the guy.
I don't even know if that's real ginseng.
In fact, dude, no, I don't know. No, dude, I can't actually drink, like, I don't know. The Monsters make me feel funny. The Red Bulls make me feel funny. Even
that's
the one.
Why Josh drinks.
Yeah. No, dude. See, I'm really, and I got a thing for caffeine too. I believe, I'm doing like 4 shots of espresso like per cup. And then
that's all I drink is coffee.
Yeah. Oh, dude, no sugar, no cream, just straight black rust water. The darker, the better. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Right. I mean, that's taste. I know technically, if you look at how coffee's supposed to be prepared, you can burn the caffeine, all that stuff. But
we'll go into an episode.
Yeah, that's
coffee,
another. That's
coffee.
Yeah, but ultimately, fasting, I would say, is what did it. Pushing my eating time back and almost closing that window, putting it in a window, thinking about eating as if, eating in a time frame. If you think, in a work day, right? If you ate a piece of cake every hour you're at work, that's 8 pieces of cake, right? But if you stop eating cake for the first 3 hours, you only have 3 pieces of cake.
Wait.
So you,
like, wait, what
if you said, well, yeah, and I guess this is not exactly that good of an example, but my point is, I was trying to push my body into a caloric deficit, eating less each day. I wasn't eating cake. That was not my primarily. That was not. Yeah, I was just using an example that I felt was, I don't know, maybe bad example, but you get what I'm saying. I put my body into a caloric deficit, and after consistency after a certain amount of time, after a series of days, you drop the water weight, your body starts to, go into ketosis, depending on how you do it. I did a low carb. I went to a carnivore diet myself for a while. We talked about it before.
Yeah.
When you were actually
just kind of starting off, right?
No, I think that was still in the cookie dough days.
Oh yeah,
I think this is I was doing
the
it.
cookie dough days.
Yeah, this is the cookie dough days. And it was funny because I remember talking to you about that, and then you thinking that I was crazy. Like you're like, oh, dude, you're already little.
That's
like,
hilarious.
and you used to say, dude, you and my dog need to hang out because you guys.
Mike, put you on, bro.
No, but you know what? I never actually said any facts to him. We talked about it, but literally about what
You're
I
too
ate.
nice, though, bro. That's
True.
Oh, you're eating cookies though, huh?
That's
weird. That's cool.
I would have been like, get on that carnivore diet, slob.
But you know what's also funny, man? Talking about cookie dough and breaking this carnivore diet, and I don't know. I started to look into this, and I saw that bodybuilders have this same issue as well. When they go through their training periods, when they're about to go on stage and do their stuff, they go into some pretty serious dieting.
Oh, it gets crazy.
But when they get back on, when they start to incorporate carbs into their diet, they actually build a bit of a condition with sugar. And I noticed that when I got off of my carnivore diet, that, dude, I was so before I started working out, I was more savory. I didn't really care anything about sweets. I would eat whatever, fried, all that stuff. But sweets, nah, I would pass on dessert. But man, once I started to incorporate carbs back into my diet, I noticed that, dude, I went off the rails.
Yeah, dude.
Yo.
They were just talking about that.
Yeah, bro. I relapsed the other day.
Oh man. But when I broke that diet, dog,
transparency.
Yeah, no, true. Yeah, that's what this is. But dude, I went hard, like harder than I can imagine. So,
but
I know you're not planning on breaking your diet.
Dude, honestly, I think so. A couple things, which it shows you how addictive sugar is.
Oh, dude, a drug.
And I'm not gonna put her on blast, but again, my wife, she'll in the sweetest way possible, she'll be like, you know what, I think I want a treat, and then like she'll have it, and then I won't say anything, and I'll be like, you have another one, like, and she's, and then she'll just like, shut up. And she knows it, but like, it's, awesome. And then she'll kind of, realign herself, and she'll get kind of back on course, and she's pretty good with that, but like, it still takes a second, What's interesting to me is that the same thing happens to an addict and alcoholic, right? They'll quit a drug for a little while, and then they relapse, and then guess what? They go on this binge for a few days. So the same thing is happening with sugars. Now what you see is that the sugars actually access, and carbohydrates are sugars.
Yes.
Okay? So you have carbohydrates, they break down into sugars. Okay, sugars break down into fat, and that's how we store fat, right? So on that note, the sugars actually access the same pleasure center as drugs, as cocaine, as the opiates. It hits the same spot, and it's like you're rewarding yourself for doing absolutely nothing, right?
Yeah.
So on that note, my thing was like, okay, if I'm going to reward myself, I'm going to stop eating for entertainment. Okay, I'm not gonna eat because I deserve it. There's a football game. What do? We grab pop and beer or whatever.
Pizza,
Doritos,
popcorn, Doritos, tons of chips. And that's what you're looking. You're looking at the table and you're like, there is nothing that suits me for it. Like there's nothing that's actually gonna feed me nutrition.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you have people, we call it the apostles or ancestors or whoever you want to use, right? They actually ate out of necessity. Like, dude, I've been out there for like 2 days and haven't had anything. Then you start questioning, you're like, wait a second, we don't need to have 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
We need to eat the right things, and our body will take that and use it. So what if I rewarded myself with the meal that I should be having in the first place, right? And an awesome meal. Like, I'm rewarding myself with the meal, like, because I put in a hard day's work. I had a workout. I worked all day. I've been running around like crazy. Now I sit down, and then you're actually getting the rush that you should have from a meal, and your body's actually benefiting from it.
Yeah.
And you're not getting something like a piece of cake. Oh, I deserve this. You don't deserve that kind of dopamine rush and destroying your body. That is not a reward. Your reward should be something that actually benefits you. So that's the idea. And if I'm eating a steak or I'm eating ground beef or, eggs or whatever the case is, or even fruit I use as to supplement. I started eating fruit, and when I started incorporating that after the first 2 months of just doing straight carnivore, it was like water, salt, beef, and eggs, and I would throw in like lamb and that kind of stuff, but I wanted to detox myself, and then the whole intermittent thing was part of that.
Have you ever relapsed? Like, have you ever like slipped in a croissant?
No. So in 2.5 years, let me tell you why. And it's not like I'm some awesome person, okay? Like, the reason why was because I was doing it right. And now, number one, I read the data that was coming back from these people that were getting basically healed, and their eczema was clearing up, their anxiety was clearing up. My snoring, according to my wife, stopped after the first week. Okay, after the 2 weeks, I already dropped 10 pounds. Any anxiety, which it was through the roof, and stress with work, and you guys know where I work, and that can be a pretty stressful place sometimes. Mm-hmm. I know, but regardless, that actually dropped, and I was like evening out, and then my energy levels, they would usually skyrocket, and then plummet halfway through the day, where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even move, to now it's, and since I started this, it was just, it wasn't like I had tons of energy, but I was consistent throughout the day. And then by the end of my day, you're looking 5-6 o'clock, I'm done with work, I'm at home, I got a couple things I got to do at home, normal responsibilities. But then I'm able to just like slowly, gradually go into sleep, right? Yeah. You eat, you reward yourself with that. Now I'm like, but my reward, and if I wanted to say dessert, then it was like, dude, I take in some apples or, watermelon or something of that, and that would be it. If I was really craving sugar out of nowhere, I would make sure I got raw honey, and I would just do like half a spoon of raw honey on my tongue. It would go away like that. Yeah. But also, when you get cravings for sugars, I read that it was actually your body that could be dehydrated. So like dehydrated, whether you're starving or like, I'm starving, like drink some water. Tell me how you feel. Yeah. So that was a huge
spindrift.
Yeah.
Not spindrift.
That's that
spindrift.
Stuff right there.
Let me know if you want me to put you on.
And it's funny, I know you kind of touched on like how bad sugars and sweets can be. But it takes a mind shift for you to start viewing things like that. I think all over social media, even YouTube, Instagram, whatnot. I mean, there's people that make reels talking about how bad things are, and it's everywhere. The evidence is there, dude. You know it. We hear it everywhere, but you don't necessarily care, right? Like I was one of those people that, dude, I knew all that stuff. I knew that you can clean out a drain with Coca-Cola. Like I know that you can take off rust with Coca-Cola. Like. But I'm still drinking it, because I was that dude that literally thought that, it's whatever. It's just one or not me, like not me, Right. Yeah, everybody thinks that, but it took a mind shift for me to realize that, man, I'm actually poisoning myself. All these little things, like everything that I'm taking is a setback, not a setup for the future me, a better me, Right. And then when you get to that point, you're able to. You're able to take a step back and like realize how much better life can be. One, and you also you can create self-discipline. Right. I think you start to learn self-discipline. Okay.
But I think that's a big part of it too. Is like the notion of what now I know this, right? So it's not just knowing this, but it's like it's knowing this and then living a little bit of it out. And sometimes that can be just enough for someone to set themselves in motion. Yeah. And like we said about earlier about working out, it's like, wait, I'm seeing results from this mentally and physically, and even emotionally. But now even with the diet, like now this starts changing, but I've read the information. Now when I start reading all this stuff of all these people that are actually getting cured from half this stuff just by changing the way they eat, you know? And everyone's different. I don't have a plug with carnivore or animal-based or whatever. Right. But what I do know is like how well it worked for me. And I don't think it hurts to try.
It works for me as well. Like there's many times you talked to me about it as well, and I was like, man, I have to have my veggies too, bro. Spinach, broccoli, green beans. Yeah, bro. Like I mean, I do love my veggies. I just love the taste of it. But at the same time,
veggies.
Yeah,
Right.
I rock with him too,
Bro,
man.
like, I love it, you know. But
I mean,
We'll get into that too.
I think it's positive filler food is what I call it. It's better than like loading. All right, a side of like, you know, some grilled veggies versus rice. You know, like that feels better than, you know.
Okay, so listen, if we're gonna go into this a little bit, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, but the thing was that since I already tried these things, I wanted to switch it up. Just like how, you know, when you work out, you want to switch it up. You don't want to be on the same old, or else you're gonna plateau.
Yeah.
So I switched it up, and this was like years back. Even like back in the TC days, bro.
Yeah.
I was just having meat. You know, and I wasn't having sweets. I was just having meat, and I saw that I would get cut, and like I would get more defined, but and I would. It's like I felt more healthier too, you know, and so so like as far as healthier, what I mean by is like I wouldn't feel as full. Like I could eat
the bloating. You're saying
the bloating, exactly. And then, you know, like I really didn't know if that was like, cause I wasn't too knowledgeable on that, but I was just trying it out because I heard it like from certain researchers in the past and whatnot. But then I remember as soon as you started on it, then there were certain. Say I would get on it for a month just to like cut up or something. If I knew I'm gonna cut, just strictly meat. And then when I want to bulk up, I'm eating sweet potatoes and rice, veggies. So I would do it like seasonal, but I knew it worked. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, it works 100%.
Right.
Eating less carbs to no carbs in general. Yeah. If your body is at that point where you can get cut. So pretty much carbohydrates are a sugar molecule attached to a water molecule. So along with you taking in sugar, your body is also holding on to more water. So like your face appears more round, you know, your muscles are a slightly bit fluffier, you know, you got a little bit on the sides, you know. When you stop taking in that stuff, you see everything that was under all of that, the reveal. Yeah. So, key to summer bod, less carbs.
Like how my dad.
Less carbs, but if we want to get back to vegetables and why.
Oh,
so there's
snap.
something, and we're not going to get crazy on this episode, obviously.
Here it comes.
We're supposed to be introducing the program here, but vegetables was a thing because it's, dude, they're actually highly inflammatory, and there are things people are right now be like, get out of here. Like if I can find the link, I'll put it below. But maybe we'll
Daniel fast.
No, well, that's true. So plants have phytonutrients that literally are there. Are there for self-defense for the plant. If you look at the whole animal kingdom versus plant kingdom, there is way more meat that you can eat than there is plants. Like there's a handful of plants that are actually good for
edible.
that you can't edible and that are good for you versus like.
So then it begs the question is like, why are vegetables that bitter if they're intended for us to eat it? Why are they so bitter, and why are we trying to change them genetically to just consume them? Now, this is my theory. Okay? You guys, listen, bottom line is that if you're going to be changing your lifestyle, there'll be people out there that say, you know, I'm a vegan, I'm a vegetarian, I went this route, I lost weight, I saw evidence of it. First of all, a lot of that is you just basically cleaning up your diet, okay? That's the bottom level, okay? So if you don't do meat, that's fine. You lost a bunch of weight, that's fine. But there's ways you can lose a bunch of weight and not do it right too, okay? Because the other things that you are missing is that you cannot get the same quality of protein from a plate of lentils, right? As you do even in an ounce of meat, preferably beef, right? There's a whole different quality of protein that you get. We were designed to eat meat. Now, back to my theory is that God put it in front of us. Fruit, bright, vibrant. It's on a tree. It's on a bush. It's in front of us. Eat the fruit, right? Try to be careful which ones you eat. Try to go organic, even or some organic is sprayed. God help us, but even fruit is, it actually gives you, there are nutrients in fruit that we should be consuming that is bioavailable to us.
Yeah.
Vegetables, they're in the ground. Okay, they're deep in the ground. Animals can dig them out, and animals actually, and there's actually a whole science to it. Again, we'll talk about in another episode. But they have the ability to break it down, and the way that their body is set up is that their body breaks it down to where it actually changes. Like cows, for instance, their stomachs actually change vegetables. Let's say it's grass, for instance. It actually changes the grass into a nutrient. And they have 3 stomachs.
Yeah,
and
there's
it breaks
layers
it down,
to it, for sure.
Like even the acids. And it kind of like spits it up in another stomach. And again, we'll get all on that when we can offer you guys the information and all that too.
Yeah.
But it turns it into protein. We don't have that, you guys. Like that's just not the case. So why wouldn't we get from fish or something that's right there? It's right there. And you look at the tables throughout history. What is at the prize of the table every single time? It's that meat, right?
Yeah.
It's those huge roasts. It's the pigs that are on the table.
Yeah.
It's these things that, why is that? It's because these things were what people that had money would actually eat because they knew that they could last it. You know, if they weren't eating for days, they knew food wouldn't be there. Dude, they would consume meat because it would last them in their diet. It would sit in their stomachs. It would go down. It would hit the right spots. So if I'm eating 1 meal a day, for instance, not always the case, but like if I'm doing a 1 meal a day, dude, I'm going to get full off that 1 meal. It's going to be full of eggs and meat because I'm going to be lasting the whole 24 hours without eating. And I don't get hungry. You know, most of the time if I do, I drink water. Somehow I'm fine.
Yeah.
Why is that? And now I've been doing it for 2.5 years. You know?
Right. And honestly, I believe that's the key to even if you want to lose weight out of experience and you want to get strong or maintain your weight, is honestly fasting. And then at the end of the day, just rack up on eggs, meat, and avocados, butter, like that. And then you max out on that, bro, you're set. You know, and you're not like overly full, like you know, you feel super bloated, like you said. You know, and also, if y'all have any questions as well, you know, just let us know. That way we can be able to clarify certain things as well for the audience. But
you guys, our email is down there, and you guys can click links below.
Yeah, DM, all that good stuff.
Hit us up. We all have separate Instagrams too.
Yeah. But also, like mostly all these things is out of experience. You know, like things that worked for me. And as far as fitness as well, you know, fitness, I've done strength training. You know, I've done bodybuilding and all these things. Like my body is fluctuated, even like, and it fluctuated because I wasn't really also taking it serious.
Consistency wasn't there.
Right, consistency. Like I was consistent at one point, and then I fell off. You know, because I started, you know, using, drinking, partying. And then just like how you were, like you mentioned earlier, that, you know, you were going, but you were also drinking and your diet was off. So I had a lot of that. But when I was in that, I was doing a lot of strength training. You know, I was able to pick up weight, but I didn't look like I can pick up what I can pick up, you know, and it's through years of experience of just, you know, you lifting weights, you getting to know your body more, you seeing what works, you seeing what you're capable of, and even being around certain people, just mentoring you or training you as well, you know, and so for me, I lean towards the bodybuilding because I preferably like it a lot more. Josiah likes strength training. It's good for him. And for me, I like bodybuilding because like it just I like just working out every single muscle that I have. You know.
Yeah, holistic, more like sculpting every part of your body, getting
Some
the
people
definition.
Like doing 1,000
yeah.
reps. I don't mind
Bro, I love that, bro.
Hey,
I
think I'm a mixture. I love the strength training, but I do love the
course.
bodybuilding aspect of it
Right.
too. And Yeah, no, I think a balance of both would be ideal. Like, you know.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
really, you know, even in that, like, I think there's got to be this, you know, someone kind of mapped out, even for powerlifters, especially if you're getting close to doing a meet. There is something where you can't just, it's not just this gradual, if you look at a graph, it's not this gradual up, right? Now there's progressive overload where you're adding a little bit every single time you're doing a lift, you're adding a little bit to go.
We're all natty, by the way.
Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
you know, but so I think there's some of that, but really your body needs muscle confusion.
Right.
So it gets used and it gets adapted to the same things all the time. So that's where you are taking some of that, like what you're doing is, you know, there's power builders too, right? Like I would like to think myself as a power builder, but I don't care as much about the aesthetics. But what I do like is what I get out of like HIIT, right? High intensity training. Okay, so you have that where I'm like, dude, I killed it in the weight room, and it wasn't because I did one rep, waited, you know, 3 minutes, and then did another rep. You know, now that is a way that powerlifters do lift, and you know, one of these days. You know, have my coach out here and he can walk us through all that too. But like, really, it's like this. There's like a week of maintenance, and this is what I've been doing a lot lately, and I've actually seen results from that consistency. Is you do HIIT, and then the next week is maintenance because your body's preparing itself from doing that high intensity training, and you did it all last week, dude. So then you're thinking about your central nervous system, right? So the next week should be maintenance. I don't always, I'll go in there and I'll still like end up incorporating some of that HIIT, or I'll go to town, especially if I'm chugging coffee that morning. But like, regardless, you're doing maintenance. You get in there and you're just getting the joints moving. You know, like you're doing something.
Yeah.
Bands,
Circulation in the blood flow.
Some sort of movement, which is important all around, because you shouldn't just be, I'm taking some time off. You should try to do something every day, even if it's a walk. You guys go to the beach, play football, something, whatever. You know, you're trying to get something in all the time, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea. You taking a rest doesn't mean you laying on your couch watching Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, there should be something that you're incorporating, so that maintenance week should be part of that. You know, and I remember even my wife was talking about that. And she was in track and field and stuff like that. And we were talking about the central nervous system, and she's like, so our coach, when we were having breaks, they would actually take us to the beach, right? And we would be doing something on the beach, whether it was like flag football or, you know, again, frisbee or something where we're actually staying active. So it wasn't just a bunch of us sitting around a room watching TV and having movie night.
Yeah.
No, we were taking long walks or we were doing something, but we didn't really realize what he was doing until we were like later, you know, the athletic intelligence started really picking up. We're like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing here, you know, and that's how it should be. You know?
I like that term that you brought up of like athletic intelligence. Right. And I think that that's something that each one of us can speak into very uniquely through this podcast. We want to raise the intelligence level with athleticism, physicality, nutritional science, and a whole lot more with this podcast. I like, and the spiritual element, spiritual well-being, of course, that's a core element. I like what you said moments ago, Josh, that really what we're going to also spotlight is a lot of our experiences with this podcast. So in closing, guys, I'd like to hear from your own perspective, what are some of the things that we hope to accomplish with this podcast? And if there's topics or lessons that we really want to push forth, again, for all of our viewers and listeners out there, we welcome the comments and questions that you guys have, because that will guide our conversation here. But what are your guys' thoughts as far as the vision for Kingdom Mindset Podcast?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. Well, no, ultimately, my heart is to definitely build a relationship with everybody and assist anyone that has questions or interested in going on a fitness journey. I know myself and how hard it was, and just, you know, I had no one at the time to really bounce questions off, speak to, and all that. So I'm extending myself as that person to be so for anybody, but also in a spiritual sense as well. Anybody has questions or anything in regard to the gospel, I extend myself as that.
Right. Yeah.
Amen.
You know, and honestly, I would say that even like when I started walking in obedience with God, that's like when my physical life of discipline excelled. You know, like when I just started walking with God, and I can even tell that with you, when you started, you know, really getting serious with God, that's like when your fitness journey started becoming more disciplined.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like because you're not going out partying anymore.
Right.
You're not, you know, consuming things that you're not supposed to, aside from cookie dough. But
It's not talking about cookie dough anymore.
His
But-
nickname.
yeah.
Oh my God.
But
Pretty funny, actually.
But I mean, I believe that our mission here, bro, is just we're growing. You know what I'm saying? We're not where we want to be yet. We're becoming, like church says. You know, we're becoming better. We're learning more. We're improving more. We're trying to adapt, and you know, it's all about growth. You know, it's all about growth in God, growth in our mental state, in our physical state, just being rounded.
Yeah.
You know, and our mission is honestly just to help out those people that really don't know where to start off, have no hope, have no motivation.
Yeah.
They just really are stuck. And we just want to help y'all, you know, reach out. And it's about being transparent as well.
Yeah.
It's about being honest, transparent,
Yeah.
like us opening up, and just ask us anything, you know, and I believe that God's hand is definitely on this, because this whole team wasn't set up by coincidence.
Right.
You know, like we're all different. We got a strength trainer over there. You know, we got this guy that's in between strength training and bodybuilding.
Yeah.
My boy's over here also I'm becoming, you know, and my boy Tony over there. So it's like we're all different, you know, and we just want to relate to you guys, and we just want things to be comfortable for you guys, to just ask questions. Our mission is to help, and that's it,
Yeah.
you know.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree, you know, and I'll back that up. And I think, you know, when I started down this journey, and even Mike and I, you know, started getting discussions, and started talking about this whole thing when it, you know, before it even started off, I think the question was like, man, you ever want to start a podcast? And I'm like, dude, yes, I was thinking about that, but I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So Mike's like, I do, you know, in Mike's way. But yeah, and it was something where like it started to evolve, you know, where I'm like, dude, you're close to your brother. Edgar's the bomb. So we wanted Edgar on this, you know,
Right.
and I was obviously, you know, Josh and I are tight, and I wanted Josh in this, you know, and I felt like there needed to be a little more presence, and brought it up to Tony, and Tony was pumped and excited, and Tony's
My boy
you know, he's
Tony.
got Why Not Films, but he still wanted to get involved with this project, you know. So,
Yeah.
dude, it started looking like something where, you know, we have this saying in the culture where it's like, let our experiences be your shortcuts.
Amen.
Yes.
That's something
yes.
that's huge, and it's like, man, if we can do that for somebody, whether it's through my testimony, I got nothing to hide. I'm willing to share anything
Right.
about my past.
We're
I
an
think
open
it's-
book.
It's actually, I've learned that it's helped people out, and that includes the weight room and recent stuff too. But even my past, I share my testimony on purpose, and I tell people about the cruddy things I've done, but also what God's done in all of our lives, and this is part of
Yeah.
it, guys. This
Yes.
is our success journey, and people seeing that there is success out there.
Yeah.
And if you are battling with weight issues, you're battling with mental issues, depression, anxiety, your identity issues. The point of this, and the whole reason why
We're here for you.
we decided to call it Kingdom Mindset, was because you're training the way that you should be thinking in the first place. And those of us that are, you know, part of a kingdom, there's a royalty aspect of that.
Yes.
And it's there's a kingdom wealth mindset behind that, where people that have that, they walk around with their head held high and their chin up, and their chest out, and knowing that they don't have to live with their head held, you know, down low, that you're looking down all the time, and you know, you're like, woe is me, and living in shame, guilt, and misery. It doesn't have to be that way.
No, you are blessed and highly favored by the Most High.
Right. And to that whole thought process, that's why we're sitting here. That's why we felt enough to run something like this. So people can see this and be like, whoa, this is nutrition I've never heard of. This is a way to live I've never heard of. But this is a mindset that everyone should be thinking of, that we don't have to live that way. And that's really it. And everyone here fully agrees on that. We doubled down on that, actually, and there is something that we came to, and we're just like, no, this is the way that we've been living, and we see success and an awesome power behind all that. So but again,
I like
that's why we used it, kingdom mindset. So.
I like that. So thanks, guys, for tuning in for our first episode. There's lots more that we want to share. With this podcast also comes an invitation to join us on this physical fitness journey. All of us here have unique goals along this journey, and we want to be a part of your lives by sharing our story. As Josh mentioned, transparency is key, and we're all here to grow and become the best that we can, the best that God has called us to be. So tune in for more insider knowledge on nutrition, muscle growth, strength training, and spiritual discipline. We can't wait to unpack all of these subjects with you guys. So stay tuned in to Kingdom Mindset Podcast.